In reflecting on your experience today, please complete one of these three phrases. I learned, whatever, finish the sentence. I realized, I was surprised by, or whatever you prefer to say. So I'm gonna, is that okay?
I was really surprised by, I think, the deliberative polling, that when people had information and had time to engage in conversation, that 70% of the people were able to change opinions. And I think that's bold. You know, a lot of times when we're stuck in our thinking and we think we're right, it's really hard to admit that our thinking needs to change. And so that really surprised me, and it emphasizes the importance of participatory conversations. And it was so nice being here with everyone today. I'm glad I spent my Saturday here. Thank you.
The first circle, when we opened up today, I said I was looking forward to seeing what kind of how people responded to what Ted had to say, and I can tell you I'm pleasantly surprised that there's been such a thoughtful and enthusiastic response, and that doesn't, as you know, because you participated in the conversations, mean that everybody is in total agreement. There are plenty of questions. There are plenty of concerns, but I think this was a very, very good start, and I hope that many of you come back and continue, because I think the thoughts and comments and concerns you brought today were extremely valuable, and it was my honor to be part of this today with all of you. Thank you.
I also realize that there are a lot of thoughtful people in the world, and lots of them are here in the room. And I'm encouraged to continue these conversations.
First of all, I'm so grateful that I was able to be here. I'm so inspired and reminded that I have something that I can offer to this movement. And I'm so intrigued to learn more about restorative practice. And, you know, it's sort of interesting because of the psychotherapeutic practice, but I feel like there's some things that cross over. I'm very curious to learn about that and see. What was I surprised? I can't think of what I'm surprised by, but I'm grateful. Thank you.
Hi. I am also just very excited to be here. I am surprised and excited by the fact that there are I've had this kind of amorphous feeling that things are occurring. I was surprised by the fact that there are some real structures that are possible, and very excited about that. And also just very much enjoyed, I really do think that the answer to this is that we are all a piece of this puzzle. We all have a piece to offer, and that sometimes they're going to feel like conflict, but they are not actually conflict. They're actually just the pieces of the whole. And so I was just excited to be a part of that and share in that. Thank you.
I didn't realize there were so many people unhappy with our government. I've been unhappy with it for literally 40 years at this point. And I'm just glad to see that there are a whole lot of other people that seem to care.
I learned an alternative way for decision making today, which I found very interesting, including the history, some of the history things, and I realized I needed something like this, quite frankly, to divert me from the day-to-day stuff that consumes you, and I'm honored to have been a part of the group.
Thank you. I was surprised today that we did engage in that civil discourse, the way it was handled, that respect level. So I wanted to say thank you to everyone. because there is that mutual respect, even though we come from different backgrounds or different visions, we still have some kind of common threads. And what I realized is the breakup of these smaller groups had more opportunities to engage in that dialogue and to have a conversation. And then we could bring it to the larger group. And that dynamic, how influential that could be, is pretty neat. So, thank you.
I really appreciated the conversation. I thought they were rich and honest and sometimes difficult, but I really appreciated that. And you ask about a promise, what we might agree to. And I thought, promise is a hard word for me, but I will consider two things. One is I will consider, the first one may be harder, to join one of the technology groups where we do this, maybe on an online kind of platform. Those of you who know me know technology is not my best, but I'm willing to try it because I want the conversation to continue, and I'm willing to do that. The second one is I would like to maybe invite you to bring this to our community, and maybe there's a place where we can hear more voices.
First of all, I want to thank you, Ted, for having this forum, for extending your idea, you know, for building a new reality. I mean, that's powerful. And you'd be surprised how many people in the room are on board with you. I'm definitely one of them. You know, I think it needs to be tweaked and worked out, and you know all that. And I'm sure it'll happen. Another thing I'm grateful for is the fact that we are all a human race. We are one race, which is the human race. And we came together in spite of our differences or because of them. And we showed some strength in here, you know, because we're family. You know what I mean? Only one person said that, you know, and that's what makes us united. So I just want to thank you for today.
So I also have to say, when I was first invited, I thought of a million things I could be doing today. But I do have to tell you that it was just, the hours went quick, and I was very thankful to be here. This was right up my alley. So many wonderful people here. It was so nice to hear the different, I would have loved to have gotten to be able to talk to everybody, but it's so nice to hear different opinions and to know that there are so many caring people from different walks of life. I think it's very important to listen, to hear others, to be open to different ideas. But I do have to say, I'm walking away with the idea, and I shared this in my last group, that community is so important. And I do believe it starts in our homes, but we have to start with our neighbors. And I'm walking away with the idea that you really do need to be involved in your community.
I think for me, the thing that I've taken away is no matter what direction you come from, what your ideals are, that if you can just set them aside for a minute, that, you know, we all want the other to do well, to be happy. And particularly in the time that we're living right now, that's hard to do, but probably the most important thing to do, and a good reminder.
First of all, I'd like to thank everyone here. Ted, I've never been at a restorative practice event where I haven't come away grateful and inspired, so that's the first thing. The second thing is, I agree with everything you just said, but I also realize that building consensus does not mean that it's a popularity contest, that there will be pushback, that everyone's needs and wants have to be expressed, and that there has to be the room for that in order to really get to the place where we can come together. And that's a realization that I think I will always carry with me.
I was surprised, and very pleasantly so, that people with such widely diverse backgrounds and positions were able to come together and have amazingly civil discourse. That was just astounding to me from beginning to end. That was every small group, every different group, big circle, small circle, it didn't matter. It was just wonderful and amazing.
I'm
thankful to each and every person that I met with in a small group for your honesty and willingness to take risks. And then I also thank those who spoke in the larger group for your courage to do that with the same honesty and integrity. And I truly believe that it is our similarities and our differences that bring us together, and that we need to talk about and learn from in order to find that commonality that would create community and change.
I had early on realized and thought that I was the token conservative that Ted had invited, and I was surprised to find out that he actually had other conservative friends. So that was very empowering. Yes, I was surprised, Ted, so I thank you. You've broadened my love of you and stuff. I enjoy talking in small groups. I enjoy talking in large groups. I blame my brother Lee for that. And I realize the power that people have that are able to talk in a group, because there's a lot of people who can't. And I would encourage everybody to not be afraid to talk up in a group, because there's 10 other people behind you who don't want to do that or can't do that. So just know that you have that power to share opinions, and make sure that when you do lead, we talked about this in our small group, when you do lead organizations or groups that I sit on and stuff, it's important to allow an atmosphere for people to feel comfortable to share their feelings. It's really easy to shut down people when someone shares something and you stomp on it before it even gets out of their mouth. So it's just, there's a lot of power to that when being in a group setting. Just realize that you have that power. So.
Yes, and thank you, Ted, for inviting me also. I just want to thank everybody in this whole room, because I didn't know what I was up for when I signed up to come in here. And I thought it was out of my wheelhouse that I had all these thoughts that there could be a better way in the world. But this is real encouragement here. To have 40 or 50 people in here sort of thinking, you know, I'm thinking now that I'm not as crazy as I thought I was, and I think there is hope, and this is a great way to get it started. And again, thanks everybody.
Well, I'm honored to have been invited. I actually didn't understand it was by invitation only. I thought it was something popped up on my website, and I'm like, yeah, I want to go to that. Yeah. Anyway, what you said, David, about a safe place. You know, this was a safe place upon walking in, and I'm grateful for that. Greeted with smiles and welcome, and then meeting all of you during the conversations. Definitely a safe place, and it does give me hope that we can all go out and exponentially spread the word that there is perhaps some answers to the craziness that we're seeing in the world right now. And I'm committed, I think.
Yeah, Brooke and I are probably a good example of a family, members, brothers that are at the farthest ends of the spectrum. And we're in the same room, we're talking together, and it's been really wonderful for me. I really, talked with Ted a bit ago about this process today, and it was wonderful to see. I love being in a circle when these structures are put in place. So I think what I learned again is just when I read Peter's book, and this is his book, by the way, Community, I gave it to him to autograph, and he wrote, under the restorative community chapter, "You're authorizing the transformation. Love, Peter Block." And I think when, this happens in real life, when we see that this can happen with a good structure to have material to relate to, listen to a person's vision, be in small groups, everybody gets a chance to speak to the large group. That's why I love that quote. How do you change the world? This is it. It's the only way it's ever been it. One room at a time, the one we're in. And we go out and do our life again and come back together. So I was really happy to be a part of this. Thank you so much for organizing it, and look for more.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing I realized, again, and you know, these are some initial experiments I've seen Ted's doing a lot of them, and I've seen a couple of other people try to use some of restorative practices to deal with social political issues. The thing that fascinates me the most, honestly, at this point in my life is probably less the issues, just given my role, and more the process, right? I mean, a process can't be an end unto itself. I mean, but at the end of the day, beginning to see, can you take people who, when you all leave here and open up whatever your favorite 3 news sites are, there's people in this room that are, you're going to be told by the voice from the little computer you carry that these people are your enemy, right? And that didn't play out that way when you give people the right structure to talk to one another, to deliberate. And like I said before, I'm a strong believer that I think there actually are huge questions that a certain amount of conflict is necessary, because I think there are some big disagreements in this country, and they're going to have to get sorted. It's not going to just be made okay by saying, can we all just get along? So, I mean, and similar to what Bruce had said, I think a community more than anything else, at the community level, that's where all of us have the most power. You know, there's people here in this room who have more money than others, and different social, political standing, social cultural standing than others. But still, at the end of the day, you know, compared to the masters of the universe out there, we're at a pretty similar power level, at least in this society. And I think the more local you keep engagement, the more power we'll have to actually affect any change that any of us want to see. So thank you for coming.
I am not too good at summarizing, so I'm going to work really hard at making this short and to the point. But I've kind of watched this kind of, let me think this. I've watched the growth of restorative practices since my brother was involved in it, and a lot of these people in the room that I know are a part of restorative practices, and I see what good it's done. And I do think that we can continue moving things along in this world, and we'll start it right now. And I think we just all have to keep working towards changes and the recognition of other people's ideas. But I just think we can do this too. If we got this far in restorative practices, we can get just as far in the political scene and changing it to something better than it is now, in our country at least.
In the years since the presidential election, this is the first opportunity exactly like this that I've had. It's been very unique, so I thank Ted for that. I certainly concur with everyone who has talked about the highest level here today of civil discourse, because I always think that listening is one of the hardest things that humans have to do. It's very difficult. And I also keep thinking, if our representatives in government could listen to each other and behave the way everyone did here today, it would be so much better for everyone.
In reflecting about the experience today, I'm very much more encouraged, because what we've talked about here is a bottom-up idea. It works on a grassroots level. It's the citizen electors, the voters, if you will, I'm thinking that way, taking charge. Nobody's going to help us out of this mess but us. That's the truth. We have got to take the bull by the horns.
I'm surprised about how shy I am right now, so. Yeah. Okay, next.
Darn it. Well, I would like to thank Ted for having this meeting and discussion. I think what we've done here is a great step to a better future, and I hope we can keep this going.
I was not surprised by anything today, because in my almost 10 years of being involved with restorative practices, I've learned not to be surprised by anything. and in every way that has been positive. I did learn that, as I suspected, there were more people than myself who are very, very concerned with the state of our world today. And just really gratified by being able to spend time in this room with all of you. This has just been incredible. I would like to remind everybody that this movement is called Building a New Reality, which is an active verb. And that means we all have to commit to doing something active to keep it going. Thank you.
I didn't really have any expectations coming into today, so I've heard a lot of these ideas before. My dad likes to hash things out a lot, so I've heard these things and we've had conversations, but it was interesting today to hear more people react to it, and I really enjoyed being part of the conversation, and it was a little bit outside my comfort zone, but I think that's a good thing, and it's encouraging me to start thinking about other ways I can have more conversations with people who I don't normally talk to.
I was surprised. I expected to sit here and listen to restorative practices and how they apply to schools. So I was just going to sit here and, just listen to everyone. I love the fact of the circle and the little circles. I totally believe in circles. I learned or realized that my talents are best utilized in my community. And that's where I can start, because I feel totally helpless. I feel like I have no power at all. I listen to the news and I cringe. But I realize that the little things can become very important and become big things. And, we all can participate in that. And what I was surprised by was the lotto system. I mean, I've never heard that idea expressed ever. So I'd be interested. I'll stay tuned.
Oh boy, I'm glad I'm last, or almost last. I totally loved listening to what everybody had to say. I'm glad I just could sit back and, hear everything. And I really am surprised, because I wasn't sure who was coming. And I'm just surprised at who came, how many people I didn't know, how far people came to get here, how many of us gave up a Saturday to come and seemed okay with it. I'm not seeing anybody leaving yet. And really, I have to say, I realized how much I kind of miss my work since I'm retired. I don't get to sit in circles, and I love the good feeling you get. I love the whole process and how much I gain from it and how much I learn from everybody and how inspired I get and encouraged and invigorated. So that's how I feel now. And I just, what I realized too, that other than my family who's here, the more you know people, it's just so much easier to listen and respect them and care about them than these anonymous people. You hear something they say on Facebook or on TV, and I just want to go, oh, you asshole. How do I know? I probably would like them if I sat down with them. And I have to keep reminding myself of that. So thanks, and it was great meeting all of you today.
Thanks for coming. I was really scared, because I don't mind looking stupid. I do that a lot. I'm practiced. I make mistakes, and I can live with it. I don't get that sensitive about it, but I really was scared that I was going to hold a party and nobody was going to come. And so I'm really appreciative of the fact that you did give up a day of your time and what seems to be coming out of it. It's hard to ascertain where it's going to go, but that's pretty much the way I've run my life, so it's not that unusual. I I plunge into things sometimes without really knowing where they're going to head, but it seemed like a good idea. And this feels like a better idea now, so thanks. I really appreciate it.